because for sure the subject is very interesting. And we do have people who would like to know more about it. Of course, not everybody could join today because it was really very short notice. So we do the recording and we will put it freely available online. It will be posted on our website, and we will share the link to YouTube most probably as the most comfortable. So
Yep.
the record is going on.
Yep.
I would like maybe to introduce a bit who we are here. So I'm Julia, so we've been in contact with you.
Yeah.
And Gaines Mittelson is the leader of the Construction Entrepreneurs Organization in Latvia. And Gaines has prepared as well a little information, a little presentation about how we are dealing with the stuff here. So we will have a kind of a exchange of everything. I would say that how do we start? Because Julia has a presentation as well for 20-30 minutes as we've been speaking. Yeah. So I would say maybe we wait another couple of minutes because people are joining, and then we start. Gint, tu gribētu sākt vai kā mēs darām, vai vispirms?
Okay. Yes, I can start then. Then 20 minutes from us, who we are and on what issues and what priorities we are working on, and then we have some background to discuss. So did you see the slides or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. Yes, as Julia mentioned, we are representing entrepreneurs, construction entrepreneurs, and mostly we are focusing on our organization on civil and housing construction. We have also the same similar NGOs which are focusing on different, let's say, road construction and different. We totally have a leading 15 NGOs. Who are making in Latvia this, we call it Latvian Construction Council, and we are working very closely with Ministry of Economics because the ministry is also leader from public side on this sector. So yes, companies, mostly of course construction companies, but also construction manufacturing and design companies also are our members. Yes, if we see the numbers, some statistics about 21, then 21 looks that there was some shortage in amounts if we compare to 2020, and it's of course that's due to COVID because some objects have been stopped during the COVID. But still, during the COVID, the industry have worked, and yeah, the industry of course is quite big in our country, and you see some figures that there are approximately 12,000 companies who are working on that turnover. The total turnover is approximately 2.3 billions. It's of course a little bit smaller than Lithuania and then Estonia, but still quite big. And the most, let's say that the highest demand is coming from public sector, approximately 60%. And yes, we have to work on this sector very top. And in our segment is approximately 40,000 jobs and construction sites, and totally, if we add also people who are working in offices, we have approximately 75,000 people who are working in this industry. Of course, we have also licensed industry, also specialist licensed, and also companies that are licensed. If we're talking about salaries, then we have since 2020 this 780 euro as a minimum salary, but average salary 21 was 1,250 euros. That's the level in our country. We have in our industry very well designed e-construction system. Actually, we can monitor all new construction permits, new construction sites, existing sites, which companies are working, which employers are working, and then actually all the let's say paperwork is now digitalized, and starting from construction permit till the building has been till the building is ready. It's everything is possible using the digital papers. Of course, we have a lot of challenges this year, and then mostly we see that this year will be a big decrease in amounts, and also we see that next year beginning will be also very very hard, and of course this is due to the war in Ukraine, because a lot of products, construction products, previously were coming from Russia, from Belarus and Ukraine, and now this delivery chains have been changed. And of course, these are new products, different prices. And the big problem is that if we compare this year to the 2020, the cost increase have been in average 32%. It's a big increase, and then of course these construction companies who have a long contracts, have a big troubles, because the profit margins are quite low, and then this risk somehow have to be solved. Yes, and as I mentioned, we have a lot of do in public procurement sector, because this is the biggest amount, and then there are delays in EU funding projects, and it's quite bureaucratic at the moment, because the bureaucracy are coming from Brussels, then of course local bureaucracy, and so on. A lot of people are working on this papers. And a lot of construction companies are also producing a lot of bureaucracy papers for EU funding projects and so on. Yes, of course, we have always a constant shortage with working specialists, because the best people are going to work also to Sweden, to Norway and Finland. And of course, the salaries are quite higher than here, and then so we have to solve somehow these issues year per year. And this year, of course, we have also high turbulence regarding energy, let's say topics. Of course, energy efficiency in housing sector, also alternative energy solutions for municipalities, of course, these companies who are working in electricity-related business quite busy today, and then of course their workers also are shortage with good specialists. So yes, to continue, the big challenge will be for us next 5 or 7 years, and this slide shows very well that the public procurement have a big goals, and approximately next 7 years, there will come 4.5 billion euro investments in different segments, new schools, hospitals, municipalities. Of course, railway will be rebuilt, defense objects, and so on, so on. There will be a lot of new sites, and you see that 25 will be very peak, and then shortage also with the workers. and this we have to solve somehow these challenges. If we see that our NGO is working on 5 directions, and you see here the priorities, what we are doing, as always, construction process. We are looking somehow in direction Denmark, how they are doing this construction process and how we can copy something from them. Yes, as I mentioned, green construction, Green Deal, and everything what is related from these goals and actions. We have a lot to do. And then, of course, shadow economy, due to the fact that today we have a recession, a big impact on pricing and costs, and of course entrepreneurs are looking how to solve this issue. And then of course one thing is taxes using to solve these problems. Yes, as I mentioned, we have this e-construction system. The system is also will be developed also next 2 years, and then yes, we can see that it helps very well all the parties in our segments. Public procurement, we have actually also a digital solution. You can start a tender in this system. You can also propose your proposal in the system. Yes, it's always a question about the criteria, how you are using, which you are setting on qualification criteria, which criteria you are setting for tender proposal evaluation. It's always a deal about the cheapest price versus quality. It's always a topic how to evaluate which companies with a better specialists are coming and offering their solutions. Yes, as I mentioned, green construction is also booming. Of course, in commercial sector, biggest developers are using BREEAM and LEED systems, and then what is it? And we are starting also cooperate with the German system DEGA and B. And we have some good examples and some also in public sector. Of course, there are wood-based solutions and also alternative energy solutions in this housing. So we have a good examples to show also in internationally. One additional project which we are doing right now is related to construction waste, new policy development, and this is related to circular economy. So we have started to develop a system that we will use in the near future this construction waste more in new and construction projects. Yes, we have evaluated how the Finns and Austria is doing this process, and yeah, now we are starting together with public sector, with Ministry of Environment and our partners to develop the system. And yes, and we see that in 2 years this we can monitor more precisely what is going on in this recycling field and which materials are recycled and then how much and then in how quality and so on. This will be a new also business for somebody. Now I am starting to explain what is going on in the field of shadow economy. As you see that we have some market research each year, and then it shows that in 21 it's approximately 30% shadows in our sector. Is actually the numbers are somehow increasing again because it's a recession at the moment in our industry. And of course, we have a lot of challenges in this field, and maybe one is that we have introduced this general agreement, and now we have also this electronically decorrelated system in the biggest construction sites. And the question is what results are coming from these two solutions. And we see still that the big companies are, let's say, quite wide business oriented, but the smaller companies still have a big numbers of envelope wage, and so we have to solve somehow this thing. What else? We are now dealing with public side that we have to start to monitor the shadow economy, mostly based on big data. And as I mentioned, we have a different systems, and the data there is that the question is in the quality of analyzing and to finding the real causes and the real employees and employers which are doing this envelope wage practices. This is, for example, some numbers that we are not agreed with ministry. This is not ministry. This is tax institution. They are actually showing that 50% from 40,000 employers or working places are in shadow economy. We are not agreed with that numbers because they have to extract from these numbers also pensioners, some students, some illness people, some people who are working in different companies, and so on. Now we are negotiating how to get this data more precisely, and we believe that the number is 2 times less, as you see here. The same is about companies that also the tax institution shows that 80% of construction companies are doing envelope waging. That it's also, we didn't agree on that. There should be more precisely calculated how they see that this topic. Yes, actually one slide shows you what is going on in total field. The existing solutions are mostly working on large companies in the public sector. But we know that the shadow economy is actually in residential segment in the small companies. And actually from here comes also the real money, and come also to the medium and larger companies. And we have actually to start to do something in this sector, because all the public ideas is mostly also related to the bigger players, but the smaller players are for them quite difficulty to catch them, and that's why they are not working with that segment. Yes, we have also calculated which is when we start to use a new approach, then we can get something additional in state budget from social taxes, and we see that approximately 50 to 70 millions per year can come from this shadow economy, from construction shadow economy. And as I mentioned, there are some ideas from government side. They are thinking implement a new approach that they call it automated social tax bill, and we are looking how it will look. And then, of course, some additional ideas regarding EDLUS, and also this mostly the ideas is focusing on biggest players in the market, not on small players. And of course, we also, as an industry, have ideas what to do, and we are looking more on carrot side, that it's not always about controlling, but we have to define a new solutions that also a buyer or or also demand side is also have to be somehow interest to pay additional taxes, because of course in Latvia, if you build a new house, you have to pay €1 for real costs, and then additional €1 is taxes, social and VAT taxes. And it's a question how many can allow afford this prices, and it's always. And yes, there are some additional ideas what we are negotiating at the moment with the Ministry of Finance, and we will see how the next year will look. And of course, one big opportunity is also to make changes in minimal salary, and we together now with different partners are looking how to do this. And of course, from one side is a recession in industry. From another side, we have to keep these best workers, and of course the idea is to increase the salary, but the question is on what level, and what will be the formula, how it will works, and so it's a question of time. Yes, and actually, finally, from me, that we see that let's say crisis starting from COVID, then war in Ukraine. In our industry, it's a lot of challenges, and we see that there should be some new approach how to deal with NGOs. And there should be some more centralized look on the industry. The biggest issue at the moment is still this extraordinary cost indexation, and then of course there should be some solidarity responsibility from demand and supply side. And we see a lot that state would like to control more and more the industry, but at the same time the industry would like to have this more professional responsibility, and always this balance in this field. Yes, and as I mentioned, that we have to do a lot in shadow economy to solve this issue. Yes, and then during the crisis, we have started to negotiate, and also to more communicate with the Baltic, let's say the same NGOs, because they have also quite quite similar challenges as we, and then we are exchanging our opinions and solutions. Yes, at the end, actually, the biggest challenge is how to stabilize now the industry, how will looks next year, because we have also a new government, a new state budget, and actually, so as I mentioned, some delays in European funding, and actually, yeah, it's funny, but it's at the moment everything is related to the money. What will happen with public investment, with commercial investment? And the companies are quite pessimistic at the moment, how will look the next year. And of course, everybody have to have some realistic view on the future, and that's what we are helping to get this answer from public, from government. So thank you. It was quite fast introduction what is going on in Latvia. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gint. Now, Julia, are you back?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much.
So the floor is yours, and we are looking forward to know more about how it is going on in Sweden.
Yeah,
thank you.
Of course. One thing I was thinking about when you held your presentation, it's that a lot of your challenges are the same as in Sweden. We face almost the same with some differences, but the situation is very alike. So even if we are kind of not too far away, the problems are the same. Just a short introduction. My name is Julia Berglun. I work at Byggföretagen, a Swedish Construction Federation. And I have been working as a labor lawyer for about 7 years. I worked in the hospitality sector before, but with the same questions, but another sector. And I also been working at the Swedish Enterprise Confederation before that. But I've been with the construction sector for about 1 year and 2 months, so not too long, but a while. And then I'm going to, okay, let's see. This could have some presentation. Yes, here it is. So can you see the presentation?
Actually, I see the black screen, so.
Okay, that's weird. I can see
Yeah,
it.
now it's on. Yeah,
it's on now. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see it now also?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to talk about the Swedish labor market model. Since we got 5 big sectors in Sweden, and construction is one of them. But we have our collective agreements, our collective bargaining agreements, and they're all handled the same way. So what goes in the construction sector also goes for hospitality, industry, and so on. So that's why I will talk about a bit in general about how we do things in Sweden, how the labor market works. But first, a few words about the Swedish Construction Federation. It's very similar to your organization. The Swedish Construction Federation is an industry and employer organization for construction, civil engineering, and specialized companies that want to build Sweden on a foundation of fair principles. All of the companies that we brought together at the Swedish Construction Federation are bound by the collective bargaining agreement called the construction agreement. In Sweden, we call it byggavtalet. Our organization is organized in 6 national offices and divided into 6 geographical regions, and also 1 industry training center, and also the industry regions. And we gather together 20 construction associations for specialized companies. We are also.
I'm sorry. It looks like we just see, you know, the first slide of your presentation. It's not moving. So
can you see it now?
No. Yeah, now it goes. Yeah, now we see the
maybe
slide.
I should keep it. Maybe I should keep it small then, since every time I put it.
Or maybe vice versa, you should launch it, because it looks to me that I just see the screen, not the.
Can you see now with the title, the Swedish Construction Federation?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let you know when I change slide, so I know that you see the changed slide as well.
Great. Yeah. Thanks.
But we are also a member of the Confederation of Swedish Enterprise, who gathers all the sectors as well. So, and we got about almost 4,000 companies. Our members comes in all sizes and operate all over the country. So we're big, so to speak. Okay, now I change slide. Can you see the foundation of the Swedish labor market? No?
No, I still see the federation slide.
Maybe I should keep it like this then. Can you see it now in a bit smaller?
No.
No? So weird.
It's strange, I see. Labor market.
I try it once more. Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, it should be better now.
Oh, sure.
Yes,
okay.
Now it's moving.
Perfect. Then we go to picture number 3. The foundation of the Swedish labor market model is our autonomy, which means we are not bound by the state, or the state doesn't have anything to do with the partners. In our sector, it's the Swedish Construction Federation and the union, who is called Byggnads in Swedish, and they're called construction, just short, construction. But that's our union, our counterpart. Historically, the social partners could rely on the counterpart for problem solving with self-regulation. As an outcome, employers and employees organize themselves. We have been doing so for more than 100 years. LO, the Swedish trade union, was founded 1898, and the Swedish Employers Confederation, today Confederation of Swedish Enterprise, 1902. We get a high level of organization who has made this model legitimate, strong, and sustainable. Today, 90% of the workers on the Swedish labor market are covered by collective agreements, with 83% of those workers in the private sector and 100% in the public sector. Strikes and lockouts ended up in a legal order for industrial relations. So in 1906, we had a December compromise between the union and the employers, who established two very basic principles. The one was freedom of association. Employers recognized the right of workers to join unions, and also the employer prerogative, which means that unions recognize the right of employers to direct and distribute work and to employ and dismiss whoever they wished. And about 20 years later, a legal framework followed and confirmed the role of the social partners. We had a law on collective agreement. This also combined a peace obligation, which says, and that stands still today, that if there's a valid collective bargaining agreement, there is a peace obligation, which means you can't pull a strike or notify about a strike. There's full freedom on the labor market, which is the case right now, actually. We also had a labor court that sets case law. And later on, we had a Saltsjöbaden agreement in 1938. There was a main agreement between LO and the employers that sets the negotiation order for almost the whole private sector. And then we had 3 decades of non-interference from the state. But in the 70s, a political left wave reduced the role of the social partners, and we almost didn't survive that. Before that, we had almost none legislation, but after this, we had a huge amount of legislation who almost destroyed the Swedish model. For example, we had the Trade Union Representative Act from 1974, the Employer Protection Act, same year, employment, co-determination in the workplace in 76, and so on. So that was a very hard time for the Swedish model and for the social partners to live through, but we managed to survive, barely. The Swedish model, according to the Swedish Mediation Office. Legislations constitute a framework within the labor markets. Parties have a great deal of freedom to regulate and precise the conditions in collective agreements. This means that each sector, each parties on the labor market, has the ability to create their own rules who suits the sector best. So for our collective bargaining agreement, get rules that are very specific for our sector, which makes our collective bargaining agreement very suitable for the construction sector. Many of the legal regulations can be replaced with collective agreements, which means that if you get one regulation in law, we could actually, the one in the collective bargaining agreement, many times goes before the legislation, which means the collective bargaining agreement very suitable for the sectors as well. There is no legislation on minimum wage or the universal application of agreements. This is crucial. We don't have any legislation on wages at all in Sweden. The wages are always regulated through the collective agreements. So this is one of the things that makes this process very special in Sweden. The partners are setting the wages for the sectors. Collective agreements are applied to the most of the employees on the labor market. Dispute or resolved in the first instance through negotiation. And to describe how this machine works, it's a huge machine. We got more than 100 labor market party organization, 55 employer organization, which the Swedish Construction Federation is one of them. We're also one of the biggest. We got 60 trade unions, which construction, our counterpart, is one of them. We got almost 700 collective agreements on wages and general conditions. And in general, wages is negotiated individually, and you use the collective bargaining agreement as a framework. But the company has a framework through the collective bargaining agreement, but they are free to make other solutions, but they have to stay inside the framework, of course. And if there's a level of organization, there's 68% of blue collar, or 68% in total, which is 60% of blue collar and 72% of white collar. Collective agreement coverage is 90% in total, as I mentioned before, and in the public sector is 100. So there is totally, which means you are, even if you're not a member of a trade union, but you work in a place who has a collective agreement, you are covered by the collective agreement anyway. And our model covers so much more than just regulations. If you're a member of at Swedish Construction Federation, Byggföretagen, you are bound to pay pensions, you are bound to pay insurances and stuff like that, covering if you have a work injury in the case of death at the workplace, and if you also on a parental leave, you have some extra salary through this insurance system. So it's so much more than just regulating like time schedules and stuff like that. It's a very big and very well functioning system. And to mention shortly, an historical agreement marked a new era for Swedish labor market model. This was in June this year, when Sweden implemented the largest reform to employment security for 40 years. This will see increased flexibility for our companies and employees, and improved opportunity for employees to improve their skills in midlife. This will be achieved through a combination of collective agreements between the parties along with legislation in line with the agreement. I could spend a day talking about this, but I'm just going to spend this slide for that because it was a huge mark, and it was a mark to show that the social partners in Sweden are very strong and that we know what's best for the Swedish labor market. The model is working very well. So it was a great day for the Swedish model. The wage formation model that applies to the Swedish labor market is a bit special. For about 25 years, we have been following the industrial agreement, which assumes that the international competitive sector, the industry, which is crucial for Sweden's prosperity, signs agreements first. That agreements constitute what we call a coastmark, märket in Sweden, which then forms a standard within which other parties in the labor market must adhere. That means that when their collective bargaining agreement expires, which it does the last of March 2023, they need to sign a new agreement before anyone else could do so, because we need to follow what they decide on salary increases, wages increases. they decide how much Sweden in general can handle regarding wages. So we need to accept whatever they decide regarding increase wages. So of course, in the construction sector, we also need to follow and accept this cost mark. And of course, the partners of the construction sector is Byggnads in Byggföretagen. And we are responsible for the construction agreement, byggavtalet in Swedish. The current agreement expires 1 month after the industry agreement. So when the industry agreement is done, we have 1 month where there's still peace obligation. Because when this expires, there's no peace obligation, which is crucial for us for the employer organization to have an agreement before that, which of course makes it's like the pressure in the negotiations are very high when we go in for the last few weeks. A new round of negotiations have already begun through the whole labor market, not just our sector. The whole labor market are now preparing for the next round of negotiations. And as parties in the construction sector, we are bound by the cost mark, as I mentioned before. And we need to have a new cost mark by the 1st of April by the industrial sector. The cost mark is set in percent. It has been earlier for like 1 year, 2.17%, 3%, 2.20, and so on. And the length of the agreement is also binding for the rest of us. So if they reach an agreement who is valid for 3 years, then we also need to have an agreement valid for 3 years. If you look historically, most of the agreements has been running for 3 years, but sometimes when it's very hard to predict the future, this could be one of those years. The agreement only runs for 1 year because the parties can't agree on 3 years. They can only agree on 1 year, and probably because the future is so hard to predict. The economy is so unstable that it's too hard to say, okay, for this year we have salary increases on 2.5%. And next year, we don't know. We don't know how much we can handle and how the situation in Sweden looks like. But the best for the labor market is a long-term agreement on 3 years, since that creates a very stable and calm labor market. If you just agree on 1 year, well, then you basically start negotiating right away again. So it's good for peace and security on the labor market to have a long term. But sometimes the surroundings of the world just makes it too hard. So then it's going to be a 1 year agreement. For this negotiation round, it's very hard to predict how long the agreement is going to be. But whatever the industry decides, the construction sector is bound to accept that. And when you negotiate, everything counts. General conditions, pensions, and so on. So you actually put a price also on general conditions, which means maybe you get some more flexible scheduling rules as an employer organization. Well, then we have to decide, what is that worth? Or what do we pay for that through higher salaries, or maybe you get more vacation. So it's always a trade-off between the union and us. And now the partners are in the preparation process. We're fully in the preparing for the spring's hard work. And as an employer organization, and same as a union, you have to prioritize. You can't get everything. You need to have your priorities straight before entering the negotiations with the counterpart. And in February, we exchanged claims with the trade union. And then we have a great number of negotiation days until the last of April 2023. And what happens if we can't reach an agreement? Well, both us and the trade union are bound by the strict rules. So if we don't get along, we enter mediation that is handled by the mediation office. The mediators are accepted by both parties, and then they enter our negotiations. And then every meeting, every new suggestions go through the mediation office. So we are bound to work through them, which has turned out to be a very successful model for the Swedish labor market. And this is also a framework that goes for every organization on the Swedish labor market. And as I mentioned before, there is an obligation of peace until our agreements runs out in the end of April 2023. After that, the union has the option to notify of a strike. A strike does not always break out. The last time we had a strike in the construction sector was 2016. But the last negotiation round in 2020, Byggnads actually notified they were going to strike. But through the mediation office, we reached an agreement before the strike actually burst out. So we made it, even though they notified the strike. We had a new agreement in place before a strike burst out. So that was a very tough negotiation round, and I can imagine that 2023's negotiation round will be very tough as well. The challenges that we are facing for the next round are, of course, the same as you described earlier. The inflation, war, unstable economy, just to mention a few. It's very hard to predict how the economy will be in 1 or 2 years, which make it probably hard for the industry to come through with a collective bargaining agreements who runs for 3 years. Hopefully they will, but or maybe it will be 1 year. And a lot can happen because the cost mark needs to be set the last of March 2023. And as you know now, the world is moving very fast, so it's very hard to predict how the inflation look like, how the economy looks like, how the war in Ukraine looks like in 4 months. A lot can happen during this time, which of course makes it even harder for the partners to find a solution. So I think that this year's negotiation round will be one of the hardest than we have seen in many years. But also, of course, challenging, and it will, like it always does, it will come to an end, and we will see the other side, hopefully without any strikes that had burst out. But yeah, everything is still quite uncertain. So it's going to be an interesting journey this spring. And that was all I had to say regarding this. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much. That was really quite a comprehensive introduction about the situation. So we still have some minutes left. So I would like really now to ask if there are some questions. So this is a very good opportunity to ask them.
Yes, I have a question regarding a minimum salary in Sweden, and actually the model. The question would be like how the entrepreneurs and the employers are dealing with variable salary, because one of course is this fixed minimum salary, let's say some amount in the market, but the second is actually, which is always based on working time and hours and so on, and that's always because because entrepreneurs wanted to build the house faster as possible, but employers are liking to work, let's say, not as always, but working to work as it needs, and then it's always a question about this variable, let's say, salaries. Can you a little bit describe how in Sweden it works and how you manage this variable salaries?
Yeah, because you are describing exactly the challenges, because it depends. We got a lot of different rules depending on what you are performing and which kind of job, since there's a lot of different titles. But what you are describing are shorts, I guess. If you work very fast, you maybe can get a little bit extra for finishing the house and stuff like that. And we got shorts in our construction agreement as well. But the rules are very complex, I would say. The wages settings for the construction sector in our collective agreement, these are regulated on, I think it's like 35 pages. So that will give you a good picture that is very complex. But we got this variable as well, just as you described. If you want to get the house done very fast, that you can work with shorts and stuff like that. But it's differ a lot through over the country. But I would say the most, I'm not 100% certain about this, but the most common way is to have your salary for 1 hour for hours work. So you have the same salary every month. You don't have this variation, but it's possible to have variation through shorts. But the most common is that you have the same salary every month, I would say.
Okay, thanks. Maybe second question from me is collective agreement. How to it regulates also somehow, let's say, minimum educational program in some field or not? Let's say, what's about some educational things and how these are related to the collective agreement?
We actually have a special agreement just for education, which is not my area, but exactly as you are describing, the partners, we together with the union has agreed on how you get educated, because during your time as a trainee, you can call it, your salary increases during your time as a trainee. So after 1 year, or after a certain amount of hours, your salary increases, and then after a new amount of hours, it increases again. And then when you're not a trainee anymore, you reach the top level, and then you are then you're a full educated carpenter. So exactly as you are describing, you are educated through the partners agreement.
What is your suggestion? No, not suggestion, but prediction. How big is the shadow economy in Sweden at the moment? Let's say in some percentages. You have some fear in the market. This figure.
We are actually. Some colleagues of mine are working with that, especially together with the union, because this is a great problem in Sweden. I can imagine it's for you as well, with organized criminals and the shadow economy, people who don't pay taxes, who don't pay fair salaries. So, but it's to say in percent, it's I'm sorry, I don't have a number.
It's a big issue, or
it's a big. I would say it's a big issue. Of course, it is. And that's why we are working, that's the Swedish Construction Sector Federation, together with the union and together with the state, to make it so hard for them as possible, and to make it as easy as possible to be a member and to do right. Because these companies, they doesn't follow any rules. They don't pay taxes as you should. They don't respect the working hours. They definitely doesn't pay pensions or anything like that. So they try to cheat everywhere. So this makes it a problem, definitely for the state, and also sometimes it's Yeah, I would say it's a big problem, definitely.
Okay, yeah. Of course, I know some Latvian entrepreneurs who are construction entrepreneurs who are working in Sweden, and of course they are selling they like very well there to work, and it's actually very well regulated, and all these standardized solutions regarding contracts and costing, indexation formulas, and so on. You have a lot of good things. And of course, if they compare this market back to Latvia, and they also are suggesting to us to improve a lot of possibilities. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
we got a lot of Latvian companies working here in Sweden who are also a member of our organization. Who are established here in Sweden. So I can imagine like they like it here, and and hopefully we will have a strong situation also, even though the inflation is high, but it's hard to predict. But yeah, we still need a big issue for Sweden, I would say in general, is the lack of people. We need people from Latvia, Poland, Ukraine to work here because we lack employees. We need more people working in the sector. And hopefully that's a luxury problem if you don't go and if the economy goes down. But right now we need more people. So people coming from Latvia and from Estonia, we are crucial for the Swedish market.
Okay, thanks you, and then
Yes.
Julia, yeah.
Let's ask if there are some more questions.
Maybe I can ask a question. Sorry, I'm without the camera. I hope you can hear me properly.
Yes.
Thank you very much for both presentations. This is a quite interesting webinar. Thank you for employers for inviting us. I'm Natalia Presa, and I come from a trade union confederation on the national level called ALBAS. And I wanted to ask about liabilities when, for instance, you have subcontracting change, and there are also companies coming from all over Europe, from not only Latvia and Baltic states, but Bulgaria, Romania, Poland. And this and if there are situations when workers are not paid wages for, so do you have any kind of liability, like joint and several liability? Gintz already was mentioning it twice in his presentation, that this is actually quite a request to consider and discuss from ALBAS, National Level Confederation. And also it was initiative coming from our tax authorities. So do you have anything like this to support, to protect your market from social dumping when actually companies are working, receiving profit for the services that they provide, but the workers are actually not paid wages? And it's very difficult for them in their national court to receive wages.
This is a very good question, and it kind of runs into the question we were talking about before regarding this shadow economy and the criminals that actually are working in our sector. But if you are a member of my organization, you need to follow the wages in our collective bargaining agreement. You can't agree on lower salary. Of course, you can if you want to pay higher salary, you're free to do that. But you have to follow the construction agreement. But since in Sweden we are depending on the Swedish model where the partners set the wages, that also has the backside of that is that if you're not a member of an employee organization, you can pay whatever salary you want. It's not illegal to dump the salary if you express it like that. Because there are no minimum wages by legislation. So if you're not a member of Byggföretagen, you are actually free to pay which salaries you want. But the backside of that is also that you won't get any employees, because they will turn to our member companies because they get a better salary. So it goes both ways. But no, if you're not a part of Byggföretagen and not a part of any other organization, you can pay, you don't have any regulation regarding wages.
So in case wages are not paid at all, so not lower, but not paid at all, actually there is no protection mechanisms in Sweden, like it is in Norway, for instance.
I would say then it's slave work. So then that would be illegal. You have to pay, I guess it's very hard to call it work if you don't get paid. When you what do you say in English? I lost the English word. Just give me 1 sec. When you employ a person, when you hire a person, you have to agree on certain conditions, and a condition is always salary. So you have to get a written agreement, which constitutes the terms of the agreement, the terms of my working there, of my agreement, and what are the conditions? When do I work? How much do I work? Which salary do I get? So no, I would say that is I've never heard that you don't get paid, but because that wouldn't work. But you can have a low salary without that being illegal, and that goes for all the Swedish labor market. But of course, if you have an agreement who says you're going to be paid 200 Swedish crowns per hour, then you can take your agreement and take legal help to prove that, well, I haven't get paid. What do I do? And then you can either go to your union, or you have to turn to a lawyer, to a regular lawyer. But that's what the unions are for, when they represent the employees.
Thank you, Julia. It's clear. And also all hopes are with big nets, and I know they are very active in approaching our companies and pushing them to conclude collective agreements on the construction object or on company level. And so I see this is your biggest protection, let's say,
Exactly.
against social dumping.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? Looks like no. Okay, in that case, Julia, again, thank you very much. That was very kind of you that we could organize this meeting on such a short notice. So for those who could participate, thank you as well. And as we've been speaking before, so we will make these presentations available online. And as Julia said, you will send me the copy, of your presentation,
yes,
so
absolutely.
I can send it around as well. Thank you once again, and
no
let me wish
if you have any additional questions, just give me a call or email me, and I will do my best to answer.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So
thank you.
Let me wish you a very good Friday and a weekend ahead, and of course, Merry Christmas and all the best success in the next year. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And thank you for having me. It was good seeing you all.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.